Jack McNiece was a goddamn problem. Not the cute kind, not the misunderstood rebel kind. The kind of problem commanders write reports about and hope gets transferred somewhere else. He drank too much. He fought constantly. He treated rank like a suggestion and authority like an inconvenience. And somehow, in the middle of the most brutal war the planet had ever seen, the United States Army made a decision that sounds insane if you actually think about it. They handed this guy explosives, strapped him into a parachute, and shoved him out of airplanes behind enemy lines. His name was Jack McNasty McNiece. Not a saint, not a role model, not a man you'd want around your family, but war doesn't give a single shit about manners or morals. War cares about results. And when everything fell apart, when plans collapsed, units scattered, and fear took over, men like McNiece were still standing. This is the real story. No polished hero worship, no movie myths. Just how an undisciplined, violent, stubborn bastard ended up exactly where the war needed him. Jack Agnew. McNiece was born in 1923 in Oklahoma into a world that didn't care whether you were ready for it or not. This wasn't inspirational hardship. This was survival. You worked or you starved. You fought back or you got stepped on. There were no safety nets and no patience for weakness. McNiece grew up angry and physical. By his own later accounts, fighting wasn't some dramatic turning point in his life. It was just routine. Bars, streets, wherever someone ran their mouth too long or crossed the wrong line. Authority didn't impress him. Rules didn't scare him. That kind of personality usually ends badly in civilian life. So, when World War II exploded across the globe, McNiece didn't enlist because of speeches or flags. He enlisted because it was a way out. Violence didn't scare him, and deep down, he already lived like the world was hostile. The Army thought it was drafting manpower. It was actually drafting a problem it would never fully control. The Army didn't change Jack McNiece. It just gave him permission. From the second McNiece put on a uniform, he was trouble. Basic training didn't straighten him out. It pissed him off. He fought other recruits. He drank whenever alcohol showed up. He talked back to NCOs like rank was a rumor. In peacetime, that ends your career fast. But this wasn't peacetime. The US Army was expanding faster than discipline could keep up. Units were forming overnight. Standards bent. Problems got overlooked if a man could still fight. Then came the airborne program. Jumping out of planes terrified most men. Night jumps terrified almost everyone. McNiece volunteered not because he loved the mission, because fear didn't control him. That alone made him valuable. Paratrooper training wasn't about turning men into heroes. It was about finding breaking points, relentless physical punishment, constant stress, no room for hesitation or comfort. Most men washed out. McNiece didn't. Not because he followed orders, but because quitting felt worse than pain. He was assigned to the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, part of the 101st Airborne Division, an elite unit that demanded discipline, precision, and teamwork. Jack McNiece was bad at all of that. He fought fellow paratroopers, he clashed with officers. He earned a reputation as a walking disciplinary report. But when training turned brutal, when exhaustion hit, when fear crept in, McNiece didn't fold. Jack McNiece wasn't reliable in peace. He was reliable when things went to hell. Let's kill the myth now before it poisons the story. The Filthy 13 were real. But they were not a suicide squad. They were not criminals sent to die. They were not mystical warriors. They were an informal demolition and pathfinder group inside the 506th, made up mostly of hard-drinking, hard-fighting paratroopers with discipline problems. Men officers didn't like, but trusted with ugly work. Jack McNiece was one of them. The Mohawks? Yes. Some shaved their heads before D-Day. Why? Not spirituality, not ceremony. Intimidation. They wanted to look dangerous jumping into the dark. They wanted to feel dangerous. That's it. No magic, no legend. Just psychological warfare. The Filthy 13 weren't rebels. They were men trusted when nobody else wanted the job. June 6, 1944. Normandy, France. McNiece didn't storm the beaches. He jumped hours earlier before dawn with explosives strapped to his body like a bad idea waiting to explode. Planes took heavy flak. Drop zones were missed. Men were scattered across miles of enemy territory. Some drowned in flooded fields. Some were killed before they hit the ground. Units dissolved instantly. McNiece hit the ground alive. From that moment on, there was no plan. Small groups formed by accident. Food and weapons were stolen. Vehicles were taken because supply lines didn't exist. McNiece later described operating independently for days, not because it was heroic, but because there was no other option. This wasn't glorious warfare. It was survival mixed with sabotage. Normandy didn't reward discipline. It rewarded men who could adapt or die. You'd think jumping into France on D-Day would earn a man respect, not Jack McNiece. After Normandy, the army court-martialed him, fighting insubordination, refusing to pretend he was something he wasn't. He was busted in rank. A D-Day paratrooper, still considered too much of a liability to promote. The army didn't respect him, but they didn't get rid of him either, because when bullets flew, McNiece showed up. The army didn't like McNiece. They just needed him more than they hated him. September 1944. Operation Market Garden. Another airborne jump. Another rushed plan. Another mess. Bad intelligence. Heavy German resistance. Scattered landings. McNiece jumped again. By now, the Filthy 13 barely existed as a full group. Casualties had taken their toll. The war was grinding everyone down. McNiece survived. Again, not cleanly, not heroically. Just stubborn survival. Survival wasn't courage. It was refusing to quit when quitting made sense. By late 1944, the war wasn't about daring operations anymore. It was about endurance. Cold, fatigue, constant danger. Men broke down, units thinned. The excitement vanished. McNiece kept going, not because he loved the army, because stopping wasn't in him. After the war, the legends started. Books, movies, exaggerations. McNiece hated most of it. He spent years correcting people. They weren't superheroes. They weren't perfect. They weren't saints. They were rough men doing ugly jobs. That was the truth. History loves clean stories. Men like McNiece never fit them. After the war, there were no parades for men like McNiece. Civilian life didn't know what to do with them. The violence that kept them alive overseas didn't translate back home. Some adapted. Some didn't. McNiece lived long enough to see his story twisted, and to call bullshit on it. Jack McNiece wasn't a hero you put on a poster. He wasn't disciplined. He wasn't polite. He wasn't easy. He was a weaponized problem, a man too rough for peace and perfectly suited for chaos. And for a brief moment in history, that was exactly what the war needed. Jack McNasty McNiece died in 2013. No statue, no parade, just a man who jumped into hell more than once, and lived long enough to tell the truth about it.